I'm all about helping people to understand the world differently and better and easier and quicker. So, to that end, I want to talk about the three big things: time, energy, and attention. T. I talk about this all the time, but let's dig in a little and talk about why this is a useful way to think about the world and what it is we need to do given that T is important. So, this time, energy, and attention framework is a framework that is designed to let you understand the world. Now, I didn't design it. Uh, however, the world unfolded, however you think that happened, that's the design, right? It was already here. I got here, it was here before me. It's fine. I think it's important to use the right words for things. So, time is sort of a non optional component. It's something that just happens, whether we want it to or not, independent of our will, we'll say. Uh, time flows. That doesn't mean you have no control over the flow of time. If you move faster, you cover more distance in the same amount of time. So there's some sort of freedom you have within the constraint of time. Okay, energy, well, that's roughly speaking how much energy you're putting into things, right? This isn't that hard. Energy is something that you have as the result of how much food you've ingested, right? Mostly on the extremes, by the way. In the middle, it's kind of the same, right? What type of food you've ingested, how recently you've ingested the food, what your metabolism is, and what your attitude is, right? So if you're motivated to do something, you can put more energy into what you're doing. And that's a function of attitude. And then attention is the final one. Attention is basically how well you can focus, right? Or be aware of the thing or a small number of things that are related over some period of time, right? With some energy. So it's attention is this focus, this ability to stick to, stay with something or some set of things that are related, right? If you're high in anxiety, you're low in attention, right? It's not that hard. So these three ways of thinking about the world and how we participate with them, how they are mediated by us, by our body, and by our minds, very important. So, one way to look at this, one mediator for time, is when you wake up in the morning, right? Which is analogous to some extent to how long you sleep. So, how long you sleep less time, you have more time, awake time. There's a trade-off there. Obviously, you can only go so far, and you don't want to sleep all day, right? So, and the problem is that your sleep in particular affects your energy. But your time is mediated by when you wake up and when you go to bed, right? That's one way to think about time. Now, another thing that can mediate time is energy. Obviously, the more energy you put towards something, again, high and low end, those are outliers. So there's a nice juicy middle there, right? That can affect time. You can put more energy into something and do it quicker in some cases for some things, right? Not all things. Some things just take what they take. But you can mediate energy by how well you sleep. Right? And so there's a bit of a trade-off there, right? If you sleep too little, you'll mess with your energy, right? And your attention can be mediated by how much sleep you actually get, right? So if you get enough sleep, we'll say, you can generally hold your attention better. Now, lots of other things mediate these three things. So I'm just going to go through more mediators until you get a feel for what I'm talking about where your points of control are over time, energy, and attention. Time can be mediated by how efficient you are at your tasks. So there are certain things that people do very quickly that other people can't do as quickly. So efficiency mediates your task. You can increase your efficiency on certain tasks depending on how you do it. You can also falsely increase your efficiency. So listening to audiobooks is usually a false increase of efficiency because you think you're doing two things and in the same amount of time. And generally what you're doing is you're sacrificing attention for that and using up more energy than need be at the same time. Nasty. Uh, but generally speaking, you can increase your efficiency at things. So there's little tiny things that you can do throughout the day. One thing I like to do is when I go to get my tea, my actual tea, I will boil the water first, then go get the cups, then put the tea in the cups while the boiling's happening, right? It's a slight efficiency, but I get tea several times a day. So actually, those little minutes, and they are actual minutes at the end of the day, they add up, right? And sometimes these little changes, especially for something you do all the time, add up to a lot of minutes at the end of the day. And of course, if you do that every day, if something you do every day, that can be quite a bit of extra time that you get back, basically. So efficiency can mediate time, and you have control over efficiency of your tasks. And then your energy can be mediated by how well you eat and what you're eating. Sometimes you need a little burst of energy. You got to get something a little sugar in it, right? Sometimes you're anxious, you need to relax. Have some carbs, right? Not a big deal, right? And then attention can be mediated by disciplining the mind. And so sitting quietly, for example, helps you, although it's very hard to do and most people can't do it, and fair enough, can help you to mediate your attention, to be able to control your attention. Also, recognizing things like how much you like a song, thinking about the song while you're listening to it can help you to mediate your attention because you're drawing in more aspects of what you're doing. Which you can go too far with this. You can start like critiquing the song and breaking it down and say, well, they played that note wrong or whatever. You don't want to get into that, obviously. But there is a discipline of mind that can increase your ability to attend to things and also not spread out your attention. Because anxiety basically spreads out your attention. It's very bad for you to spread out your attention. You want to keep your attention on a task until it's done. That increases the efficiency already automatically, right? The better attention you pay to things, the more efficiently you'll get them done, the more time you have and the less energy you use. Now you have more energy for other things. So attention can mediate all kinds of things if you used correctly. You can also think about time as mediated by experience. So when we're excited, sometimes we experience time very quickly or very slowly. You get excited, you get distracted, there's your attention again, right? And then things just fly by, right? Sometimes you get so excited, you're so wrapped up in something with a close attention that time slows down and you can enjoy it all the longer, right? And so that experience, how you're experiencing something, can mediate how you experience time itself. And that is another discipline, right? So if you're disciplined, you can slow yourself down, appreciate where you're at, and that gives you contrast so you know when you're running fast and when you're running slow, because you got to do both. You can't run at the same speed all day. All the cycles, circadian rhythms, your glucose cycle, there's probably 4 other cycles that are happening, hormone cycles, etc., right? You can't run at the same speed all the time. So you can think about it that way. Energy mediated by attitude. Okay, if you're excited to do something, and maybe you're not excited to do it, but you're excited to get it over and done with, right? That will help your energy level to be appropriate. Sometimes you just have to push through something with as much energy as you can for as long as you can so that it gets done and you can move on to other things. Sometimes you have to look for the end of something. Sometimes you have to look for what comes after it. It's like, oh, I can do that. Once I do this, I can do these other things. And feel free to set up sort of false rewards, right? So one thing I do is I say, I'd really like to watch a movie tonight. Okay, but we're not going to watch any movies until the taxes are done. I've done this to myself my whole life. It works pretty well, actually. Obviously, again, requires discipline. Discipline's always very important. Helps me to get my taxes done, and then I watch my movie, right? So you can set up those little things to help your experience to mediate your energy, so you put enough energy in to get the task done. Otherwise, the task will drag on or not get finished. And you can think about attention as mediated by outside signal. So we're always getting outside signals, right? Things are happening all around us all the time. It turns out we were born into a world, who knew, without warning. Oh, right. And so particularly if we weren't brought up well or formed well, it's probably a better way to say that, then we get distracted easily by all the outside signals because we're not doing a proper filtering, right? And so sometimes, like for example, right at this moment, this does not make any noise. Why? Because my attention needs to be on you. That's it. It's that simple. And so I have mediated the outside signals by shutting the stupid thing off for a little bit. And I do this quite frequently, actually, and not just for videos. I shut my phone off on a regular basis because sometimes I just need to focus on something and I don't need outside distractions. There's other ways to do this too. So one of my outside signals, while I'm looking at the camera right now, I also see the outside. It's the background because I'm sitting in front of a window. My screens are over here and down there. So when I'm looking this way, which I do quite frequently, especially when I stop when I'm in the middle of work, I see the outside. And that signal brings me joy because it's pretty outside, even though it's fall and things seem to be dying. But it's still prettier than looking at my ugly desk, which is actually rather clean for my desk. There's lovely memories all over it, but it's a little industrial and static. There's birds outside. There's butterflies outside. There's dragonflies outside. There's squirrels outside. There's all kinds of things out there. I don't even know all the things that are out there. Bumblebees and wasps and who knows what else. Flowers pop up occasionally. The roses are right there, although they're not blooming at the moment, right? You can control to some extent what your outside signals are. I have a whole outdoor workspace. So sometimes I grab the laptop or maybe just a Chromebook, I go outside and work. And that helps to mediate the outside signals. I like to change up the signals. In the office, it's relatively quiet, and that can be nice when you need some extra focus. But actually, when I write, I'm better outside because I get to hear the natural sounds. I get just the right kind of background noise, just the right level of distraction to keep me focused, because distraction can keep you focused. Who knew, right? So all these things are important. So now when you think about the interaction of time, energy, and attention, giving these mediating factors I've just mentioned, very important. And the way you get better at managing your time, energy, and attention is just discipline, discipline, and discipline. And discipline is hard by definition. If it's not hard, it's not discipline, actually. You look at Jocko Willink or somebody like that. You can talk more about that. But you have to pay attention to things in that way so that you can mediate your time, energy, and attention better, which just makes you a better person all around. You get better to be around because you sort of notice, hey, wait, I'm kind of miserable, or I'm unhappy, or I'm depressed. And look, maybe you can take something for your depression. I take Sammy in the winter. In fact, I just took some because I get depressed sometimes. It's really tough to get things done when you're depressed, right? So maybe you need that. But more likely, you just need to go for a walk. And if you know that about yourself and you realize, oh, it might take time away to take 15 or 20 minutes out of my day to go for a walk right now, but when I get back, I'll be more efficient because I will have spun down, reset my anxiety levels, right? My energy levels, right? And then I'll be better able to focus and therefore more efficient on the task ahead. You can use things like the Pomodoro technique. I suggest you learn that, although I hate his time frames. I think they're terrible. But experiment with the time frames. I usually do something like a 30 minutes of work, 5-minute break thing, or 30 minutes of work, 10-minute break thing, things like that. Whatever, you want to break it up a little bit so that you get more efficient. You also want to take time off from your ideas, because if you're too efficient while you're doing idea-based work, it actually gets in the way. Right? Your ideas become stale, you get over-focused, you drill down. You need to break that up so that you're not focused too much on efficiency, especially not energy efficiency, because you'll burn yourself out if you just run at the same speed for too long, as I pointed out, right? So I think once you start to think in terms of time, energy, and attention, and the cost to each of those, and how there's little trade-offs between the three of them, and the fact that you can mediate them, like there's stuff that you can do, right, in the long term and in the short term to improve the task that you're working on, or the tasks that you have to work on, just by modifying your attention, right? Modifying your energy, modifying your experience of time. I think it'll just help you all around. A lot of people have been helped by this. So I wanted to do this video and sort of just go over it in a little bit more detail. Hopefully you can start to make connections to how you work and the things you have to do, right? Of course, it doesn't hurt to be a little more organized. We could all be a little more organized. And that'll help you to see how within that organization you can manage your time, energy, and attention better. And I'll just tell you, look, there's a bunch of things that, and certain people are morning people, certain people are afternoon people, certain people are evening people, certain people are night owls. That's for sure. Well, understanding which kind of tasks you do better at which portion of the day makes a huge difference to their efficiency. The more efficient you are at one task, the more efficient your day goes, which means all the other tasks' efficiencies increase. If you order the tasks correctly according to your energy levels, which are, again, mediated by many, many factors, hormones, glucose, circadian rhythms, on and on and on, right? Once you sort of get a feel for that, you can be super efficient compared to how you were. And now you're just getting more done every day with less effort, which is really what you want. And remember to take time, energy, and attention for entertainment or downtime. Don't get caught in that. It's very enticing, but we all need to rest, right? And Pomodoro technique, regular rest in the middle of what you're doing, not a bad thing if you're doing certain types of things, for sure. Sometimes, though, you just need to push through it. Some people, like me, I can do the same task for 4 hours, no problem. It doesn't even bother me. And for certain types of tasks that are just repetitive tasks, that's actually the right thing to do, right? Of course, you got to take a break at the end of that 4 hours, because chances are there's a lot going on that you need to take care of that wasn't whatever you were doing. Some people can't do that. In fact, I would argue most people can't sit for 4 hours and go through accounting, for example, which is one of the things I did not too long ago. Fair enough. But you should know what that limits are for you, right? You should know that there are limits and that you have them and that they're different from other people, and that the amount of time it takes you to do things, the same task, will vary throughout the day. And that once you get a sense for that, everything improves. A little bit of organization gives you the contrast to see, I'm going to try this, on this day in the morning and see if it's faster than when I did it in the afternoon, in the evening, etc. You can do all that. And that helps you to learn to manage your time, energy, and attention. That just improves everything across the board. Look, I hope you guys found this helpful. I appreciate you lending me your time, energy, and attention.